All right, Monty, what is going on?
Howdy, howdy, howdy. Here we
Howdy,
are once again.
once again, another edition of Get Found.
And be seen.
That's right. And today it's cool because we're going to talk about imposter syndrome. How about that? And
Starting out the week.
starting out the week.
Talk
How
about something that afflicts many people.
mm-hmm. Navigating feelings of inadequacy. Have you ever felt inadequate? I'm pretty sure every person watching, well, maybe not every person, but most people, 80% of people at least, watching this episode have dealt with inadequacy. We're going to talk about that today.
I know I have.
I know I have. And first of all, before we go, I just want to let you know I had a great vacation, Monty. My family had a great
Awesome.
South Carolina, had a blast, went by the beach, watched the sunrise, walked on the beach, played, did everything we wanted to do. It was a blast. So it's great to be back.
Awesome.
I'm not tan though, but oh well. All good.
I'll have to do that sometime. I watched the sun set on my ocean. So
Yeah.
cool. Well,
So,
welcome back. Glad to have you back. We had a couple of replays there. Now we're gonna have a brand new episode.
brand new episode. That's right. That's right, baby. Let's go. So yeah, this whole thing with imposter syndrome, it's rampant. People feel, it's interesting how people deal with it or in encounter it. And sometimes people don't even realize it. It goes on.
Right. That's what I was waiting to say, is that
Mm,
imposter syndrome sometimes is not identified. It's just I'm not good enough.
right.
And that's the end of the thought.
Right. It's the end of the thought. And even that thought is sometimes subconscious where you can't tell, or if it might be, if you're going through it, you may not be able to tell, but your actions will show your thoughts. You might do something out of insecurity, or you might say, forget it, let's leave it alone because you may not want to deal with
Right.
a particular situation in your business. Whether it's like we talk about, the ideal client or going on camera or public speaking or whatever you're doing in your business. So it's important to be able to stop and take a minute and pay attention to a few key things.
Right. And like I said, subconsciously. So a lot of times you don't realize that messages are coming in and subverting your goal. Because when somebody says, if you have a topic, you say, hey, this is what I'm doing, and they say, yeah, well, that's common knowledge. I already know that. I remember that type of a response is dismissive,
Right.
and it makes the recipient feel less,
Right.
and there's that. Maybe you're not thinking, boy, I feel like an imposter, but that's the feeling you get. It's like, oh, it's just common knowledge. This thing that I thought I was an expert on is now just common knowledge.
Ah.
Thanks.
So it's common knowledge. So are you saying like, hey, it's common knowledge, so therefore it's not important. It's not of
Right.
significance. Woo!
Right. Right. And there's that subconscious thing. And you just connected the dots where I was just assuming everyone would connect those dots. But that is correct. That's the thing. That's the feeling of inadequacy because the response that you got was more negative than positive. It wasn't what you were expecting, what you were wanting, what you were needing, for some
Mm,
validation.
mm. Monty, that's so deep because that's like, okay, so for me, I'm in a situation like you mentioned, like what your thought was, but for me, in my any situation I'm in, I'm thinking about something, or someone else is bringing something to my attention, and then I'm like, oh, that's nothing. Everyone knows that. But that's dismissing the whole idea and missing out on an opportunity to bring value to someone. It's huge.
It's also perspective. It's
Mm,
someone just said that's common knowledge, but they are being presumptuous. It's common knowledge to them
mm,
and the circle of people that they're associated with. But with 9 billion people on the planet, odds are there are various viewpoints on that same topic.
Mm.
And in fact, that just leads right into the whole thing of, well, they are in a different part of the journey.
Right.
They're looking at your information and they're saying, yeah, I encountered that 7 steps ago. That's so old news to me. It's so common. Everybody knows that. And there's that, everybody knows that. Well, everybody they know knows that, but they don't know 9 billion people. I'll guarantee it.
Right. That's that, and that's I love that because that's something I value. Ever since learning about even like the disc method and other methods like that, it made me more sensitive and more, yeah, having more empathy and making me more allow me to be more sensitive towards these ideas. Like, okay, I don't want to, when I'm helping clients, I don't want my dismissiveness to make people miss out on getting what they need to get and understanding and learning what they need to learn from me. I want to be as dynamic. I never use that word. Have I used that word in this podcast? I want to be as dynamic as I'm meant to be, as I'm called to be, you know? So as I think about that, it just, my mind's just like, whoa, I need to take a step back and, think about what we're talking about today and really evaluate, how am I being dismissive in my thoughts? Am I being dismissive in what I offer to people? Am I being dismissive in what I could offer to people, even what they're mentioning to me they need, and me not potentially paying attention to what they need? It just makes me more alert and aware.
Right,
Man.
because you're taking certain things for granted. And that's the mindset that we're looking at here, whether it's from the person you're communicating with, or it's whether you and your communication with another person.
Right.
The concept is the same of each person in the chain could be in a different position in the journey that they're on. Not only in a different position, but on a different road.
Right.
That perspective is what's so powerful. It's that I've already been there. So I can either take it for granted and have a dismissive attitude of that's common knowledge, or I can step back and say, ooh, I was at that point in my journey. I remember when I was there and how I felt. So empathy is key for analyzing anyone behind you in the journey or anyone who is going through something that you have already gone through. So there's an interesting concept of that. I take it for granted. I dismiss it. Boom, done. You just missed the opportunity.
Right. I love it. You know what came to mind too when you said all that too was like the excitement, having an excitement about it, right? That's a good key thing to have too. That's a good step, action step, to get excited about the journey you're on and what you've learned, to say, okay, oh, let me document this for the people the people behind me. And having an excitement about it, that can thwart the imposter syndrome. Because if you're excited about it, you're gonna write it down, want to share it, you're gonna be excited about sharing it. And it's gonna be about that. It's not gonna be all about you.
That's interesting. Let's move that back to the excitement of the person that's talking to the person ahead of them in the journey. So that's why they're talking about it. They're excited. Hey, I'm making this progress. I discovered this new thing. So there's the take it for granted person, and they squash the excitement.
Woo!
Oh, that's common knowledge.
Did you do that? Did they do that on purpose? Like, yeah, that's common knowledge. I thought you
I
were
mean,
being sarcastic.
that's the take it for granted part. That's the squashing of the excitement. That's the
Right.
I'm not acknowledging that you're excited over this. I'm not acknowledging that you are growing. I am only comparing myself to your situation. I've been there, done that. It's no big deal.
Woo!
Bam. That's a missed opportunity.
Right.
That is a missed opportunity. At the very, very, very least, you could turn that person's week into a productive, positive situation.
Right.
At the very least. What does that do for you? It dips a little self-esteem into your cup, is what that does for you.
Right. And it's so deep, Monty, because that's one of those subtle things where, you know, if you're dealing with imposter syndrome, you may not pay attention to, but just what we're talking about, if you this is an opportunity to heighten your self-awareness. It just adds to your self-awareness. It's a reminder, it's a nudge to say, okay, I need to be self-aware and I need to think about these things, you know?
So if you're that person that's getting squashed, that's where the key is here that I was trying to get to about the person experiencing imposter syndrome. Oftentimes it's because they're excited over something and somebody further ahead in the journey squashes their excitement. And now they're like, well, this person that's further ahead of me has said this is no big deal. And so they know more than I do. And so therefore I'm an imposter.
Mm.
And so if we can identify, yeah, well, they're further ahead of me in the journey. Of course they're going to say that. They're not excited about this thing. It's old news to them. It's just the wrong person to get validation from.
Right.
Now, and that's just a demonstration of that person's character. You find another person that's further ahead in the journey who is going to look back and say, oh, I remember when I was there. That's what I did. That's awesome. Great job.
Yeah.
You know, and that right there, neither one of those people did anything to say you should do things differently. Just one person saying, yeah, what you did is no big deal, and the other person saying what you did is a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
But again, as the person with imposter syndrome, you can't let other people's opinion of you damage what you have, because we're all in a journey. We're all at different points. So if they're ahead of you, that means there's people that are behind you. So don't worry about the people ahead of you. Turn around and help the people behind you.
Right. Right. You know, it's cool. I love that you said that, Monty, because the angle I was coming from was a person like you mentioned the end of it. You kind of mentioned some of it at the end of it, but what I was thinking about was the person ahead. Sometimes it's so easy to dismiss.
Right. And I wanted to talk about that too, but there was that
Yeah.
other aspect
I don't
about
know
being
that. Yeah,
squashed.
dude.
So you could be the squashy or the squasher, you know?
Yeah, dude. Oh my gosh.
And so again, it's that
Deal.
knowing the journey. It's the
Right.
thinking about where I've been. It's thinking about
Yeah.
where I want to go. It's thinking about people who have been where I want to go, been
Right.
where I'm at, and
Right.
yeah, the perspective of all that.
The perspective, of all that. Absolutely. I've seen that too with different business owners, you know. That's why I mentioned it too, where it's like they might look back, but they dismiss something because they couldn't do it, or they did it, or they did it and didn't complete it, or they did it but it wasn't done well, or they didn't see all the benefits of what they did, or what they completed, or what they were involved with. You know what I mean? So that's why I mentioned that. And then I love how you mentioned the other end. All of it's important, Monty. Each part of the journey. And that's a perfect word that you use, journey. Mm, good
Yeah,
stuff.
that perspective. It's the I don't even know how to put words onto that. It's just different points in the journey.
Different points of the journey. That's perfect. Yeah.
Yep, that's just the best way to put it. And then perspective of the journey. So the person that's further behind needs perspective of the journey, and the person that's further ahead needs perspective of that journey.
Right. Mm, yeah. That's it's so important because at whatever part of the journey, or whatever point of the journey you're on, it's gonna accelerate your growth if you can have that perspective.
And by identifying that, then you can say, well, I'm not going to be able to help anyone ahead of me. Realistically, they've already been there and done that. They're further ahead than I am. How am I going to help them?
Yeah.
So that helps with well, who's my audience? Who's my target? I just narrowed it down. Anyone ahead of me is not my target.
Right.
Great. All right, now let's focus on people who are just behind me. Because you aren't there to help everybody. There's not enough of you to help everybody. 9 billion people on the planet.
Right. Pick an audience. It's good. I saw what you did right there, by the way. It's perfect. Made me take a look at your shirt, by the way.
I have it switched up backwards. I still gotta make shirts that are backwards so that when my camera's backwards, my shirt's forwards.
We get the idea though with the picture. We get the idea with the picture though.
That's right, the map.
Oh man. And so this whole thing with the starting point, Monty, it's unique. What did you say? It's unique to each individual.
Yeah, each journey is unique. But it's interesting too. The journey is unique. The starting point and ending point is what's in common. We all start out pretty much in the same boat, not knowing anything. We're all trying to get to pretty much the same point of, I know enough to do what I want to do. That's pretty generalized, but that's pretty much the journey.
Right.
But what I want to do and how I want to do it, how I get there, even if those are exactly aligned. I am starting at this latitude, longitude, and this person's starting at that latitude, longitude. And we both want to go and do the exact same things, but they won't necessarily go there the exact same way. They might, they could, but they don't have to. And that's just key to remember, that some people are going to follow the exact same footsteps. And other people are going to, they got a longer stride. They skip that step. Or maybe they need some half steps to get there.
Yeah.
And that identifying the journey, identifying your journey, and identifying their journey, that's going to help you with, if you're feeling imposter syndrome, identify where they're at so that you can say, yes, I can help them, or no, they're further ahead of me.
Right. And that's okay. Being comfortable with that.
Right.
Yeah.
And okay, so actually I got off track there. When someone ahead of you is giving you information that you feel is negative, then by identifying, oh, they're ahead of me, I just need to, it's not that I need to dismiss that information, but I need to pick through it.
Right.
If it's negative. And then of course, if you have a coach or some sort of partner that is giving you negative feedback, you might want to seek out a different coach. But
well, that's a whole
but
other
if sometimes it's not a coach, sometimes it's coworkers, sometimes it's just people around. You're in a group, and it's just one of those. It's not that people necessarily are trying to be negative. It's just that mindset. It's like, oh yeah, I've been there, done that.
Right. Yeah. Completely different journey too. Yeah. But I love that, because it's important for us, all of us as entrepreneurs, to be able to identify and see it, because if we can do that, it helps us to feel less pressure. You know, I've seen so many people quit or stop because they're discouraged by, what other people, even what they said to themselves, based off of other people's perspectives, other people on different parts of the journey, some people further not even at the journey, and that could affect you and lead into imposter syndrome for you. So hopefully, even with our episode, it could help people to feel less of that pressure and to identify and to see, what, this is normal. This imposter syndrome thing is not going away, right? But it's navigating through it.
Yeah, it's a mindset thing. It's right. Some people don't have the issue with it. They're just that confident. Although I could question if they're overconfident. But that's a whole different topic.
Yeah.
For this, I think that my point was something along the lines of, you can't help everybody, but you can still help some.
Right.
And so identifying who those some are and focusing on them and giving them value and a result, well, then that defeats the imposter syndrome, because you gave value and results to somebody.
Right.
And just knowing, I just need to keep looking behind me in my journey. One, to see how far I have come, so that I can see what I have accomplished, what obstacles I have overcome, and who that I can help do the same. Looking forward is you just flip the switch. Now you're thinking, who can I follow? Who has gone where I need to go? And who has done what I want to do? And how can I model myself after that? And then I can learn that so I can turn around and bring people with me. And that's the death of imposter syndrome. It's just knowing I'm growing, I'm leading. I'm growing, I'm leading.
Right.
I'm not leading. I could be growing. Because teaching, you learn as much as you teach, but
right.
That's the bottom line with imposter syndrome for me. Every time I feel like, oh, those people already have big empires and hundreds of sales pages and courses and hundreds of people in their groups, and you know, how could I ever get there? One step at a time.
That sounded like keep it simple.
Yeah, that pretty much was. Keep it simple. How do you eat an elephant?
One bite at a time. One bite at a time. That's good stuff, Monty. Well, we had a shorter edition today. That was
Yeah, it's a holiday.
Intentional.
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 We like imperfect action with intent.
That's right. Also, Monty, I'm curious too with the audience. If you all were inspired by this episode, let us know. Type in the comment area, because we're going to be talking about the subject more actually in the near future. And so let us know what your thoughts are on imposter syndrome.
Yeah, questions. You got a burning question. You got a scenario. How do you handle this? Or you just want to relate. This is what happened to me. We like that input.
Let us know.
Yeah.
And Monty, if people want to find you and learn about how do I understand and find my ideal client, where can they go?
Well, they can find me at montyarmstrong.com.
Simply put,
montyarmstrong.com. That'll lead you to other stuff, whatever you may be interested in.
That's right.
That's because that's my web presence hub. Carl,
Monty,
do you have a web presence hub?
I do. If you want to learn about confidence on camera, confidence on stage, if you're public speaking, if you're an entrepreneur, go to carlaleen.com. That's my web hub. You'll find all things Carl right there, and we'll get you set up.
If you want to up your communication game.
That's right. Up that game. And everyone needs to. I'll just say it.
Oh, we can always improve our communication. We can always benefit from improved communication.
That's right. That's right. So have a great week, everyone. You've been listening and watching another episode of Get Found
and Be Seen.
That's right. We'll talk to you soon.
Have a good one.
Peace. I was waiting for my balloons to come up. There we
There
go.
they are.
It's a party, baby. That's right. All day.
Party on.
Get found, be seen, start to take the stage, unlock your potential, let the world engage.